Lucas Mercer had a way of walking past emergencies. It's not because he was cold. He'd just outgrown the kind of panic that made lesser men sprint. Markets fell, markets rose. Its deals lived and died on the hour. Lucas walked through all of it as if someone had handed him a backstage pass to the world and told him to act normal. He was walking that way cool, unhurried past the wrought iron gates of Hawthorne Heights Academy, when the smallest emergency he'd ever seen stopped him cold. "I'm poor, so they won't let me in." The words were barely a whisper, steam on a cool October morning in Manhattan. The voice belonged to a girl, the height of his waist, brown skin warm against the gray of the city. Hair braided into precise lines that made his throat tighten for reasons he didn't yet understand. Her backpack was patched in 2 places, one strap mummified in silver tape. Her shoes had loved more sidewalks than any kid should. "What's your name?" Lucas asked, tone gentle enough to surprise even himself. "Maya?" The girl swiped her nose with the back of her hand. "My mom tried to pay the fees, but it wasn't enough. I really wanted to go here. They said no." She didn't cry, not all the way. Her chin trembled, though, and her fingers curled around the iron like learning could seep through metal. "Maya," he repeated, and memory hit like a bad elevator drop. Savannah, lemon ice, and lazy jazz spilling out of porches at dusk. A girl with yellow barrettes and sunlight skin who taught him how to be brave at 17 and how to be a coward at 18. Her name had been Mayaweath, and he'd left her when legacy snapped its fingers. He hadn't said the name out loud in 25 years. No, couldn't be. Except the math worked. The eyes worked. The sound of the name cracked open a room in his chest. He de-sealed with money and the sharp edges of cleverness. "Mr. Mercer?" The guard at the gate said, recognizing the jawline off magazine covers and NASDAQ broadcasts. "Board's inside already." "Tell them I'll be late," Lucas said, lifting a hand without looking away from Maya. He crouched to the girl's height. "Do you believe in second chances?" She frowned, not trusting riddles from men in a suit that cost more than rent. After a beat, she nodded. "Then let's see what we can do today," he said, and for the first time in years. Lucas Mercer walked toward a problem without a spreadsheet between them. Inside, Hawthorne Heights was a cathedral to legacy. Evier columns, chandelier that threw little snowstorms of light on the marble, and oil portraits of benefactors whose smiles said, "Don't ask about the first fortune." "Mr. Mercer," the receptionist chirped, all bangs and clipboard. "Conference room? Admissions?" Lucas said. "Now." She blinked. Of course." They took him down a corridor lined with Latin mottos that sounded like investment advice if you squinted. At the end, behind a door the color of money, sat Diane Lockhart, head of admissions, immaculate in navy, as composed as a bank vault. "Mr. Mercer," she said, what is the policy on turning away 7-year-olds at the gate?" Diane's smile lifted, fell, recalibrated. "I'm not sure I follow." "A little girl named Maya is outside," he said. She was told to go home because her mother couldn't pay the remaining fees. He watched her face. "Was that you?" "Hawthorne has a process," Diane said, aligning a stack of forms with surgical attention. "We maintain excellence. Families agree to certain commitments." "She's 7. The parent was notified of the deadline multiple times. "We have a waiting list. Admitting without payment would." "She's 7, Lucas said again, softer, like a fact that would outlast policy. "And she believes her dream ended because she is poor, not because she isn't smart." Diane pressed her lips into a sympathetic line that did not reach her pupils. "The mother hasn't answered our last 3 calls. We cannot admit without full enrollment. It would set a precedent." "What if you didn't have to worry about precedent?" Lucas asked. She tilted her head. "Not sure What if she had a benefactor?" he said. "Quiet, no gala, no plaque. Just one child, one chance. That would change things," Diane conceded. "If it's confirmed?" "Consider it confirmed." He was already moving when his phone buzzed. Bored waiting, delay or reschedule. He typed back one word. Delay. Outside, drizzled traced diamonds on the iron. Maya sat on the stone wall by the rose beds, feet scuffing the rhythm of kids who know how to wait. Lucas knelt. "Guess what?" he said. She squinted at him like maybe this man was a prank created by the universe. "What? You're going to school today?" Her hands stilled. "But they said." "They changed their minds," he said, And when she didn't answer, he added, "Because sometimes grown-ups forget what 7 feels like." She studied his face like a test with trick questions. She slid her small hand into his. "Do I call you mister?" "For now," he said, feeling something old and reckless wake up behind his ribs. "Call me Lucas." The receptionist, the guard, a couple of parents in cashmere, they all watched as a billionaire escorted a girl with taped straps past a sign that said, "Excellence is a habit." For once, Lucas didn't care who was watching. The classroom was a swarm of 7-year-old bees, who quieted as if a hand had covered the hive. Miss Delaney, tall, 50-ish posture, trained by a lifetime of ballet or rules, paused, mid-sentence when the door opened. "Can I help you?" she asked. Smile polite and tight, eyes counting the problems. "This is Maya," Lucas said. "She's joining the class today." "I wasn't informed," Delaney replied, tone clipped. The polite smile did not reach customs. "She's been approved," Lucas said. "It was last minute. And you are a friend of the family," he said. "It's not a lie. Not yet the truth." The truth felt like delicate glass between 2 floors, too early to step on. Miss Delaney's eyes flicked to Maya, then back to the man who spoke with authority, but no obvious title. After a beat, she nodded toward a desk beside a girl with braces and wide-open curiosity. "Emily, would you mind letting Maya sit next to you?" Emily beamed. Maya's shoes squeaked soft consent on the tile. The whispering began within seconds. "Who's she?" "Did you see the man? He looked like TV." Miss Delaney clapped once. "Math journals?" Lucas stayed a breath longer, watched Maya glance back, saw the flick of reassurance on her face when he nodded. Then he left, pride and worry shoving each other in his chest. By lunch, Miss Delaney had already called admissions. "That was fast," Diane said, voice worn thin by a morning of paperwork and one billionaire. "You personally approved a new student?" Delaney asked. "Maya? No last name on my roster." "That was a last-minute decision," Diane said, defaulting to neutral. "Mr. Mercer insisted, sponsoring her." "Lucas Mercer," Delaney repeated, and whatever she felt about money and power, what she felt about children was louder. Understood.
At recess.
Maya sat by the water fountain. Emily invited her to play. Maya said, "Maybe tomorrow." A boy with gelled hair and a shirt that screamed, "My dad is a bonus cheater," paused and said, "Hey, are you the new girl?" "My dad says poor kids don't usually get in here. Maybe you're a charity case." Maya looked at her shoes, then up. "Maybe your dad is wrong." It didn't hurt less just because she said it well. At pickup, Lucas stood beneath a maple that had decided fall was a personality. When Maya emerged, he opened the SUV door, like it was a portal into a different life. "How was it?" he asked. They stared, she said, without bitterness, like reporting on weather, but it was okay. "Some people are curious," he said. "Some are mean when they're confused. But you're not here because someone felt sorry for you. You're here because you belong." She didn't answer. She leaned her head against the window and let his words find the spot just behind her ear where kids hide their bravery. That night, Miss Delaney made tea the color of modest decisions and opened her laptop. She hadn't intended to turn into a sleuth at 53, but curiosity can be a kind of duty when you teach children. She found an old local article, pixelated and stubborn, about a summer romance in Savannah that ended when money and tradition got louder than love. The girl in the photo had barrettes like lemon drops and a smile that could start church. The boy had Lucas's jaw before it learned to clench. The girl's name? Maya with an I. Miss Delaney looked at her roster. Just Maya, just 7, just a word that might be a bridge. In the morning, whispers had matured into opinions. In the afternoon, opinions evolved into emails. By the end of the week, Lucas received an invitation from the PTA that sounded like a summons. The PTA conference room was curated friendliness. Diplomas on the wall, pastries that cost too much to be this dry.
How Meredith.
Loring chairperson blowout, Pearl stood with a practiced smile. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "thank you for coming." "My pleasure," Lucas said, because he knew how to be polite in a room full of knives. "We've become aware," Meredith began, "that you arranged for a new student to be enrolled. Without prior notice. Outside the admission cycle, I covered her tuition," Lucas said. "The school accepted. Rose, excuse me, Hawthorne Heights is not just a transaction, Meredith said, smile sharpening into something brittle. It's a community. Communities require transparency. I agree, Lucas said lightly. That's why I find this meeting fascinating. A few parents chuckled, reflexive and then regretful. Thomas Wakefield Hedge Fund, chin, opinions leaned in. We're simply asking, who is she? Where is she from? What is her connection to you? Lucas let the silence work. He felt the room's temperature. Not concern for policy, but discomfort with a black child entering their world through a door they did not control. She's someone who deserves to be here, he said. That's not the debate, Meredith insisted. It's the process. Bloodlines, Lucas said calmly. The word landed like a dropped fork in a quiet restaurant. Let's not pretend this is about paperwork. If my godson William, whose father plays tennis with half this board, had walked in, you would have called it philanthropy. No one spoke. Lucas stood. Maya's staying, he said. Anyone who makes her small will hear from me. Loudly, legally, expensively. The meeting ended not with agreement, but with the kind of silence that follows a sermon people did not want but needed. Back in class, Maya drew a tree with a bench beneath it and 2 stick figures. Emily peered over. Who's that? She whispered. Us, Maya said, waiting out the rain. By Sunday, Lucas found himself staring at a box he hadn't opened in 20 years. The penthouse kitchen was all chrome and light. The box didn't belong there. Carried it to his study, sat on the floor like a boy, and lifted the lid. Letters. Dozens. All the letters he had written to Maya and never sent. He read one from the night before he left for Stanford, a 19-year-old trying to barter with fate. He said her name out loud for the first time in a quarter century. Maya. He opened his laptop. The internet is rude to secrets. By midnight, he'd found a lead. Claire Reynolds, registered nurse. 29, the math twitched, but didn't break. Bronx. He knocked on a red brick building with a busted buzzer and stairs that had stories. Claire opened, scrubs and weariness, a braid pulled back into a knot built for getting through. Yes. I'm Lucas Mercer, he said. I believe you're Maya's mother. Her face did something complicated. Recognition, calculation, a flare of fury. Who's asking? I think I might be your father, he said. You need to leave, Claire said, voice trembling like an overworked ceiling fan. Now, I'm not here to take anything, Lucas said. I saw her, at the gate. I can't unknow that. Claire stepped outside and closed the door softly behind her. You Don T get to appear 7 years late with that face and ask for absolution? I didn't know, Lucas said. The words felt small against the brick. That's what they all say. Who is Maya named after? Lucas asked, hearing the edge of desperation in his own voice. Her middle name, Grace? Claire's hands tightened around her keys. How do you Maya Grace? He said. Her grandmother. My first love. Claire's eyes went cold, then hot. How did you find me? I found her, he said. At the gate, I paid the fees. She's enrolled. Why? Claire asked. Guilt. Instinct, he said. A second chance at something I don't have a word for yet. She stared at him a long time. She opened the door. You can come in, she said. We talk. That's it. The kitchen was clean and honest. Photos of Maya on the fridge, a drawing of a dragon taped to the wall, a stack of bills pretending they weren't there. I was 21, Claire said, sitting but not relaxing. I found out 6 weeks after my mom died. I were on the cover of Forbes. I didn't want your money. I wanted this not to be a headline. Do you hate me? Lucas asked. A boy asking a teacher if he'd failed? No, Claire said. Hated the version of you that was easy to hate. They sat with the hum of the refrigerator and the siren 2 blocks away that never quite stops in New York. I don't know what to do with this, she said. You don't need to do all of it tonight, Lucas said. But if she asks questions, I want to be there when you answer them. She looked at him then. Not angry, not forgiving, tired, maybe ready. I'll think about it. It was more mercy than he'd planned to deserve. The universe, being the internet, did not wait. A blog with too many ads and not enough standards posted a blurry photo of Lucas holding Maya's hand outside Hawthorne Heights. Mystery girl or secret heir. By noon, #letterin trended on TikTok and cable news ate its vegetables for once. At school, Miss Delaney pulled Maya into the principal's office. Claire was called. When Lucas arrived, Maya's question was surgical. "Are they going to take me away?" "No," he said, crouching. "No one is taking you anywhere. They're mad," she said. "They're scared," he said. "I'm scared too. You are." Maya blinked. "Only of losing this," Lucas said truthfully. She considered that, nodded once, and took his hand in a way that felt like a contract. That night, Claire found Maya drawing 3 stick figures under a storm cloud with an umbrella. "That's us," Maya said. "Under the same umbrella. Even when it rains." Claire texted Lucas a photo. He stared at it until it blurred. His team called a press conference. He didn't stop them. It wasn't brand management for him, it was a reckoning. A tect. The Mercer Foundation. Auditorium looked like a TED Talk married a Fortune 100 off-site. Flags, bottled water, professional optimism. Lucas stood behind a velvet curtain rolling the paper crane Maya had given him between his fingers. When he walked out, cameras popped like very expensive popcorn. "Thank you for coming," he said into the room and the internet. "This will be brief." The last few days, he continued. "There's been speculation about a young girl named Maya. You've seen me with her. You've asked why." He let the room lean in. "Maya's my daughter." Chaos, then quiet. "She didn't grow up knowing me. That isn't her fault, and it isn't her mother's. It's mine. I left. I stayed gone." His voice didn't shake, but his hands remembered. Someone told Maya she didn't belong, that she was a mistake. Let me be clear. She is not a mistake. She is the correction. In the second row, a veteran city reporter forgot to type. "She belongs in every room she walks into," Lucas said. "If you disagree, argue with me, not with a 7-year-old. He stepped away from the microphone without taking questions. For once, the point was the point. At home, Claire dabbed her eyes with the sleeve of a hoodie she wouldn't ruin with mascara. Maya watched the screen and whispered, "He said it." "Did." Claire said he really did. On Monday, the whispers at school changed shape. Curiosity became courage. A couple of kids asked if her dad meant it. Maya shrugged like kids shrugged when they know they don't have to convince anyone. "He always means what he says," she told Emily, and then she answered a math question like it was a basketball shot she'd de-practiced 100 times. Then the world remembered it as villains. Peter Lang, once Lucas's college friend, now something corrosive in cufflinks, booked himself on a talk show and suggested the whole thing was a PR move to deflect from a merger rumor Peter had failed to be part of. He implied payouts. He implied secrets. He implied everything that sells ads and empties lives. Claire slammed the tablet down on Lucas's desk. "I never took a dime." "I know," he said. "He's going to hurt her. I'll handle it." "How?" "With the truth," Lucas said. "It's in receipts." He gave full access to Charlotte Kim, a journalist who had a spine and a memory. Charlotte checked Claire's employment records. One summer at a Mercer Foundation clinic, but no hush money. The birth certificate. The letters. She interviewed Miss Delaney, who used her teacher voice on America, and it worked. Sunday's piece landed like a bell. "Some truths take longer to arrive," Lucas said in the article, "but once they do, they deserve to stay." By Monday afternoon, Peter Lang had gone extremely offline. Hawthorne Heights started the day with Miss Delaney reading a picture book about lies and the small, brave animals who refuse them, like badgers, Kid asked. "Exactly like badgers," she said, and she winked at Maya, who sat a little taller without making a big deal. Lucas met his board under the glass glare of Midtown. "This doesn't damage our mission," he said. "It defines it. If you disagree, that's okay. The door works in both directions." No one moved. Later, Lucas took Maya and Claire to a bakery in Harlem where nobody cared who you were as long as you didn't T-cut the line. He showed Maya how to fold napkins into cranes. Claire watched them and let a piece of bitterness walk itself out the door. "Is it over?" Maya asked, between bites of a blueberry muffin that did not skimp on blueberries. "People will keep talking," Lucas said, "but the ones saying good things are getting louder." "Okay," Maya said. "Then I'll be loud too." "You already are," Claire said, and they high-fived like a team. Evelyn Mercer arrived at Hawthorne Heights like a weather system in pearls. "I'm looking for my son," she told the receptionist. "And the girl," he says, "is my granddaughter." Miss Delaney met her at the front desk and felt her heart rate do something jazz-adjacent. "Mrs. Mercer," she said, We can call Lucas. I'd like to see the child, Evelyn said, voice even, posture a ruler. When Maya entered, she looked at Evelyn the way kids look at ocean waves. Curious, wary, a little amused. You look like her, Evelyn said softly. Like Maya. Who's Maya? Maya asked. Someone I wasn't kind to, Evelyn said. It sounded like blood and confession in the same sentence. The door opened hard. Lucas stepped in, breath still outside. What are you doing here? I wanted to see her, Evelyn said, before the city turns her into a brand. This isn't your call, Lucas said. She has Mercer blood, Evelyn shot back. That makes her family. Arrived like a storm front. Family doesn't appear when the cameras do, she said. And you, Evelyn said coolly, must be the girl who ran away. And you, Claire said, not blinking, must be the woman who taught him love had conditions. Enough, Lucas said. The room's suddenly too small for 3 kinds of righteousness. She needs acceptance, not protection you can't offer. Can you give her that? Evelyn looked at Maya and felt something old and rusted move. She's strong, she said. She is, Lucas said. Evelyn knelt, a tiny crack in a marble statue. I wasn't ready to be your grandmother, she said. I am now. If you want me. Do you think I belong? Maya asked. Yes, Evelyn said, and the words seemed to surprise her. Maya nodded once. Okay. Outside, Evelyn told Lucas she'd try. Claire said trying wasn't the measure, change was. Everyone agreed to disagree later. 2 days later, someone dug up Evelyn's history on a 1990s school board that had used standards to keep Black and Latino kids out. The article was not kind. It also wasn't wrong. Evelyn didn't answer the phone for 3 hours. Lucas went to her apartment and stood by the window that looked down on a city built by people she hadn't let in. It was a different world, she began. It was the same world with worse lighting, Lucas said. You did harm with stationery. I was surviving inside a system, Evelyn said, chin lifting then wobbling. It was ugly. I see that now, because I see her. If you want a place in her life, Lucas said, you fix what you can, and you apologize for what you can't. And if I can't, Evelyn whispered, then you'll watch her grow from far away. The next day, Evelyn came to the school library without cameras. Miss Delaney sat with them at a table that had seen 100 book reports and a couple of miracles. I read what they wrote, Evelyn said to Maya. It was true. I did those things. I didn't see the damage then. I do now, because I see you. Why did you say I belonged? Maya asked. If you didn't always believe that. Because I was wrong, Evelyn said, and the words were a bridge. I'm sorry. Maya studied her like a science project, nodded once and said, okay. Sometimes redemption is not thunder. It's a kid's okay in a quiet room. The gala invitation arrived with embossed confidence. The Mercer Foundation's annual night of donors, speeches and dresses that made people whisper. 8. Lucas showed Claire. You're taking her? Claire asked. She's part of my legacy, Lucas said, and then corrected himself. She is my legacy. And we go as a family, Claire said, surprised at herself, and pleased to find the sentence easy. On the night, Maya wore navy blue and courage. Claire wore a dress that knew how to defy expectations and sit for 2 hours. Evelyn wore hope like a new pair of shoes she was, and sure about but wanted to break in. They walked the red carpet. A reporter asked Lucas, your daughter? My daughter, he said, and cameras blinked like fireflies. Inside, under chandeliers that threw constellations on the ceiling, Lucas accepted an award he hadn't wanted until Maya sat up straighter. This isn't a night about foundations we build, he said. It's about the ones we forgive. It's about listening to voices we made quiet. And it's about my daughter, who taught me that being right is less important than doing right. Applause like rain. In the corner, a board member mouthed to another, he's fundraising without asking. Genius. After dinner.
Alan Hazeled money, knew her conscience, told Evelyn. Your apology was brave.
Late, Evelyn said. Late is still a time, Carolyn replied. Maya stood at the mezzanine window, looking down at Central Park. Lit up like a good idea. This was harder than school, she told Claire. Stages are bigger than classrooms, Claire said, but you did good. Will there still be people who don't want me here? Maya asked Lucas. Maybe, he said, not lying. But you belong tonight. Remember that when the lights aren't this pretty? Copy Maya said, trying slang on like a jacket and deciding to keep it. 3 days later, the school sent a single word to every parent's phone. Lockdown. Claire left a meeting with her apology hanging in the air like a coat. Lucas ran red lights that had seen him before, but never like this. Evelyn watched the crawl on cable and pressed her palm flat against the screen like she could steady it. Inside, Miss Delaney moved like a metronome between calm and ready. "You are safe," she said, breaking the sentence into pieces that fit in small ears. "Stay quiet. Stay still." Outside, a police officer told Lucas and Claire nothing and everything. "We're taking it seriously." It lasted 18 minutes. It ate 5 years off everyone's life. The threat was a message scrawled in Sharpie on a bathroom stall. It named Maya. It drew a gun. It said, "Erase." At pickup, Maya ran into Lucas's arms and said, "Daddy," like the word had been waiting in her mouth. Claire wrapped around both of them, and for a second the city stopped being loud. That night, the PTA discovered words like metal detectors. Claire discovered words like, "No, my daughter isn't a symbol," she said. "She's a child who likes rain and dragons and folding paper birds. If you think she doesn't belong here, ask yourself what kind of world you're building." Nobody clapped. They just shut up, which is better. Lucas issued a statement to whoever still needed one. "To the person who threatened my child, you won't scare her into silence. We have walked through bigger shadows. Every time we find the light." Hawthorne Heights installed cameras and a mural plan. The investigation proceeded. Gossip exhausted itself and sat down. Students wrote notes and taped them to Maya's locker. "You belong. You are fire. You got this." One said period, which made Lucas Google and then grin. The art teacher proposed a hallway mural. Kids painted a forest of trees with names in the trunks. Under hers, Maya painted 2 words, "Still standing." Above it, she hung a paper crane. Peace tiptoed in. Then the envelope arrived. A letter from an attorney representing Marcus Reed, Claire's ex, from before the belly became a biography. He wanted discovery. He wanted a DNA test. He wanted to count Lucas's money with his eyes. Claire read it once and turned a color that didn't have a name. "He ghosted me," she said. Then he watched the gala live stream. "Let him test," Lucas said, jaw a line. "But we see the results first. We protect Maya." "Always," Claire said. The clinic. The nurse was kind without being pitying. Claire sat afterward in a chair with arms as cold as the room and let her breath find a rhythm. Lucas and Evelyn waited outside, 2 versions of strength learning how to share a hallway. News broke again because news is a dog that learns one trick. Paternity suit, Mercer DNA, secret past. Twitter did what Twitter does, which is talk before listening. Lucas's statement was a scalpel. We welcome the test. Transparency isn't our enemy. Also, love is not conditional on blood. Mayabika's 7-year-olds eavesdrop like spies asked Lucas at dinner. "If the test says something else, will you still be my dad?" "Yes," Lucas said, eyes shining, not caring that he was supposed to be steel. "Because being your dad isn't about blood, it's about choice. I've already chosen you." She nodded and ate another chicken nugget, as if the world had just been rebuilt around her and included dipping sauce. The results came back on a Thursday. No match. Claire cried into the phone and then into Lucas's shoulder. Evelyn cried into a linen handkerchief. Dee had since a priest said something wrong at a christening in 1989. By Friday, an outlet posted a headline that tasted like crow. Marcus Reed's claim unverified and opportunistic. Claire's name got cleaned. The comments were nicer than usual. Someone said men like Lucas make fatherhood look like an action verb, which made Lucas look out the window for a while. At school, Maya presented the mural to an auditorium full of parents, kids, and 3 reporters who'd promised no flash. "Our roots are as strong as the love we grow," she said, and the room did the kind of quiet that feels like awe.
Right.
That night, Lucas stood on his balcony while the city blinked its patient Morse code. Evelyn joined him like a truce. "We held," she said. "We did," he said. "We're still holding." Below, Maya's laughter threaded through the penthouse. Lucas felt a thing he'd mistaken for weakness his whole life. Home. The family gathered in the living room around a wooden box tied with ribbon. Maya held it like treasure. "What's this?" Lucas asked. Closing the circle, Maya said solemnly, because 7 loves ceremony. Inside were 4 invitations she'd made from construction paper. One for Lucas, one for Claire, one for Evelyn. One for Marcus. Claire raised her eyebrows. Marcus, I want to invite him, Maya said. Not to reopen, to close. If he wants to be nice, he can. If not, he knows where he isn't. Lucas looked at Claire, nodded. She's not wrong. They set up folding chairs in the small community garden behind Claire's building. Rose's plastic flamingo neighbors refused to retire, a cat that pretended to own the block. Marcus arrived early, nervous, wearing a shirt that tried. I wrote an apology, he said, placing an envelope on the table. I didn't expect. You don't have to speak, Lucas said. Just be here. Marcus looked at Maya. If I were your dad, he said quietly, I'd do anything to keep you safe. Then he took a small wooden pendant from his pocket, carved into a tree with roots. For your mural. Evelyn placed her invitation next to Marcus's envelope and, in the most Evelyn move possible, said, I'm learning. They walked to the school and hung Marcus's pendant with the paper cranes. Kids streamed past the mural and didn't care about adults being profound near art, which is exactly how the world should be. She makes us whole, Evelyn whispered. She makes us honest, Claire said. She makes us better, Lucas added. Say less, Maya said, grinning, because she was trying out new slang, and the moment, miraculously, could hold the joke. Unity Day at Hawthorne Heights looked like a city had turned itself into a potluck. Families brought food from everywhere. Empanadas, jollof, rice, pierogi, lumpia, mac and cheese that ended up in a territorial dispute. No one won. There were music booths and a table where kids learned to write their names in languages that drew new shapes in their hands. Claire spoke at a family forum. Belonging isn't granted, she said. It's shared. Evelyn stood and did the hardest thing she had done in a year that included public shame. I lived behind walls, she said. I'm learning to open the gate. Polite applause grew legs. That night on the balcony, Lucas opened an old Stanford journal he had dainty read. Since he thought the world would be a science experiment, he could ace. He found a line he'd scribbled half serious, half prayer. Want to change the world with logic? Yeah, maybe love is the real revolution. Inside, they watched a civil rights documentary and ate pizza. Maya asked, Do you think I can be brave like them? Brave doesn't always make speeches, Lucas said. Sometimes it just keeps showing up. Bet, Maya said, and Claire snorted into her soda. By December, Hawthorne Heights had transformed the hallway outside the auditorium. The mural of trees wore winter lights and story leaves. The paper cranes looked like a frozen flock mid-flight. The school launched its inaugural Rising Voices Night for student leadership. Miss Delaney asked Maya if she wanted the microphone. Maya nodded like it weighed nothing. Under the auditorium lights, she stood on a wooden stage as tall as a mountain to her and spoke. When I came here, she said, some people said I didn't belong. My family and my school taught me that belonging means being seen for who you are, not where you come from. She looked at Evelyn. Thank you for saying sorry so I could believe you meant it. She looked at Marcus. Thank you for listening. Our roots hold us steady, Maya said, voice steady now. Our wings carry us higher. The crowd stood the way crowds stand when the smallest person shows them how. Ash! Tag Root Sandwings sparked in the back row and was trending before anyone got home. Backstage, Lucas hugged Maya like he could memorize courage by osmosis. Claire smoothed Maya's hair like it was part of the ritual. Evelyn put a hand on Maya's shoulder with a humility that had taken a lifetime to earn. Marcus nodded, the quiet kind of redeemed. Outside, the mural glowed under the hallway lights. The pendant tree caught the shine and threw it back at them. The silence was immediate and suffocating. Grown adults stared at a 7-year-old like she'd just asked if Santa was racist. "Well, sweetheart," Meredith began. "Don't sweetheart me," Maya said, echoing Claire with the kind of precision only children can pull off. "I just want to know if you think my best friend will be in the other school. Because if she is, that's not a school. It's a lie." A chuckle broke out from one end of the table. Nervous, then louder. One of the younger board members, new money, sneakers under his suit, said, "She's got a point." Meredith's smile faltered. Lucas leaned in, voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. "Do you want a legacy? Let it be this. The year Hawthorne Heights stopped being afraid of its own students. The vote was postponed. For now. But Lucas knew storms rarely leave after one clap of thunder. That night, Claire sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, scrolling headlines. Legacy cohort proposal divides elite academy. Comment sections bloomed like weeds. "Look at this," she said, turning the screen. "Maybe the Mercers should start their own school, if they don't like ours." Lucas sipped his coffee and didn't flinch. "Not the worst idea." Claire gaped. "You can't be serious." "Why not?" he said. "We have the resources. We have the name. More importantly, we have the reason." "You're talking about building a school out of spite?" Claire asked. "Not spite," Lucas said. "Legacy, but the kind that means something this time." Maya wandered in pajamas with cartoon astronauts holding a stuffed bear. "If you make a new school, can it have Pizza Fridays?" Claire buried her face in her hands. "This child," Lucas smirked, noted, non-negotiable. Peter Lang, Lucas's old partner turned public enemy, watched the drama unfold from a downtown bar, bourbon in hand. He wasn't done. The talk show had been a hit, but Charlotte Kim's article had crushed his credibility. He needed a new angle. When he saw the words "Legacy Cohort" scroll across the news ticker, something wicked sharpened in his grin. "Perfect," he muttered, pulling out his phone. "Divide them for me. I'll light the match." Called a number. "Trina, it's Peter. I've got another story for you. Like leaks?" The mural in the hallway had become a shrine of sorts. Students touched the painted trees like talismans before tests. Teachers paused before the paper cranes on hard days. Maya's tree still standing drew the most attention. One morning, Maya arrived to find a new note pinned under her crane. Neat block letters. "You're not the only one standing. Keep going." Emily appeared beside her. "See? Not all whispers are bad." Maya smiled, but part of her chest ached. "Then why do the bad ones feel louder?" Emily thought about it. "'Cause they're jealous." Maya tilted her head. "Jealous of what?" "Of you having the guts to be here," Emily said. "My mom says courage makes people nervous." Maya grinned. "Your mom's smart." Emily shrugged. "She's on TikTok too much, but yeah." 3 days later, the tabloids exploded again. Mercer planning breakaway academy. Exclusive emails suggest secret strategy. Emails were real, sort of. Old drafts, half-thoughts. Never sent notes Lucas had scribbled years ago about alternative education. Peter had them. He'd leaked them. See, the talking heads crowed. This was the plan all along. Lucas Mercer doesn't want to integrate, wants to take his ball and build his own playground. Claire slammed her phone onto the counter. "He's twisting it. He's making it sound like you, Don T, believe in the fight you just started." Lucas's jaw was tight enough to crack a molar, and we make it clear. We fight here and we build something better, not unsteady alongside. Claire stared at him. "You're really going to do it, aren't you?" "Yes," Lucas said simply. "Because they can T-erase her if the world is full of schools she already belongs in." Maya patted in with her bear. "So, does this mean no homework?" "Nice try," Lucas said. By Tuesday morning, the inbox at Hawthorne Heights was a crime scene. Parents wrote paragraphs that were mostly questions disguised as conclusions. Alumni wrote checks with memos that said, "Don't ruin my childhood." Porters left voicemails that sounded hungry. The legacy cohort petition had polarized the school into neat columns of outrage and relief. It was never about detracts. It was about to futures. Lucas woke before his alarm. The city outside the penthouse traced pale veins of morning along the skyline. Claire was already at the kitchen island, elbows on the cool stone, scrolling a tornado of hot takes. "Don't," he said. "I'm looking for one sane thing," she said. "Try a mirror," he said, and kissed the top of her head. Maya patted in, hair in a lopsided braid she'd attempted herself. "Is today the day I speak?" "It is," Lucas said. "You ready?" Maya held up note cards with stickers along the edges. Color-coded, she said. Miss Delaney says color-coding is how you win at life. She's not wrong, Claire said. Wellen entered in a navy coat and old pearls, dignity reincarnated and slightly rumpled. I called Caroline, she announced, meaning Caroline Hayes, philanthropist emerita. She knows 3 board members who respond to reason more than threats. Tell them we have both, Lucas said. Evelyn arched an eyebrow. It's unsettling how proud I am of you when you say things like that. Character development, Claire muttered. We'd love to see it. The emergency board session felt less like a meeting than a siege. The hallway outside the conference room was packed. Teachers, parents, a swarm of students who'd somehow learned the grown-up trick of being present without being removed. Phones filmed everything. Someone had brought a ring light. Because of course. Miss Delaney found Maya and crouched to her height. You speak when you want. You stop when you want. You don't owe them your tears. I wasn't going to give them anyway, Maya said, and the teacher bit back a laugh that would have come out as a sob. Meredith Loring banged a small gavel against the table like she was striking a match. Order, she said, pretending the word still meant something. Lucas lifted his hand. Before you begin, he said, the students have something to say. You are not on the agenda, Meredith said. Neither was the petition, Lucas replied, and something rippled through the crowd that sounded like approval and felt like courage. The door opened. Emily stepped in, braces and bravery glinting under fluorescent lights. Behind her, 20 kids. One carried a poster with a paper crane drawn in a practiced hand. Another held a sign. We sit together. Hashtag say it with your seat. A murmur rolled like summer thunder. Emily swallowed and spoke into a microphone, larger than her fear. We want to read a statement. She looked at Maya, who nodded. We started a thing online. It's called the Sit With Me Challenge. She took a breath. If you believe kids shouldn't be separated by money or last names, you sit with someone new at lunch, you post it, you write why you chose them, and you hashtag it so the world sees we're not afraid to be friends. She paused, cheeks flushed. Also, we made merch, a boy blurted, lifting a tote bag screen-printed with a tiny crane perched in a tree. Laughter, actual laughter, rolled across the room. Meredith's jaw flexed. This is a private meeting of the board. Everything about children is public, Miss Delaney said, and that sentence got quoted 20,000 times before dinner. Meredith tried to steer. The petition concerns admission structures and we're against it, Emily said, because we want our friends, all of them. She squeezed Maya's hand. That's our structure. Maya stepped forward. She didn't climb onto a chair. She didn't clear her throat. She just spoke. Last week someone wrote that I should be erased, she said evenly. Today I want to say I can't be, because I know how to draw myself back. She held up one of her note cards and then smiled like she didn't need it. If you make a legacy cohort, I guess I'm the new legacy, because I'm not leaving. She glanced at her father. My dad's annoying when he decides something. Someone snorted. Someone else clapped into the wrong part of silence. Then the clapping layered, louder, and Meredith's gavel found the wood again. We will discuss the petition in executive session, she said through her smile. We appreciate your enthusiasm. Lucas contained his fury the way a volcano contains its plans. He leaned to Maya. You did perfect. I forgot to say period, she whispered. There's time, he said. Trust me. By noon, the Sit With Me challenge had jumped hawk-like from hallway to internet. TikTok filled with cafeteria tables, train benches, curbsides. Middle schoolers sat with kids they'd only ever side-eyed. Teens dragged shy friends into frame. Parents filmed from a distance like anthropologists. Teachers posted too, which made some of their students groan and then admit it was sweet. The hashtag climbed. Hashtag sit with. Hashtag we sit together. Hashtag sit with or sit. A DJ remixed a video of Emily and Maya into a beat that somehow went hard. You made a movement, Claire said, scrolling with a grin she didn't fight. Maya shrugged. We made a front seat. She popped a grape in her mouth. Also, the comments are nice mostly. Don't read the comments, Claire and Lucas said in the same breath, and Maya rolled her eyes so hard she saw last Tuesday. Peter watched the challenge explode and cursed at his screen. He texted Trina. The kid is beating us on vibes. Trina replied with a skull emoji and a link, a Reddit thread of amateur sleuths dissecting the leaked Mercer emails. He squinted. Someone was picking at the metadata. Someone else was cross-referencing timestamps with a calendar entry Charlotte had posted last year. Peter tossed his phone onto the bar. It was supposed to be easy, he muttered. America loves a hypocrite, the bartender, who had stopped caring about Tech Brothers around the time avocado toast became a personality, said America loves a kid who tells the truth more. Peter made a note to not tip.
Ah.
Charlotte Kim called that afternoon. We need to meet, she said without preamble. Bring your laptop. Lucas felt his stomach prepare for a sparring match. He met her at a small coffee shop in the village, where the espresso didn't tea apologize for being espresso. Charlotte opened her Mac and slid it across the table. Those leaked emails are yours, she said, but the attachments aren't. Lucas frowned. Explain. She tapped a folder. The body text is from your notes, but the PDFs the ones labeled LS Strategy. With dates last month were generated on a machine that doesn't match your hardware ID, and the font kerning is wrong. You can tell that. Lucas asked, half impressed, half concerned. I know a forged document like I know a humble brag, Charlotte said. They try too hard. She flipped to another screen. Also, the time zone stamps are off by 3 hours, as if they were created by someone on the West Coast who forgot about daylight savings. She looked up. Peter. Lucas stared at the digital fingerprints like they were footprints in wet cement. Can we prove it's him? We can strongly suggest, Charlotte said. And we can publish. But I wanted to let you know first. She hesitated. You said yes to access before? Still okay with me driving this into the sunlight? Lucas nodded, jaw set. Floor it. Charlotte smiled. Copy. Also, tell your daughter her challenge made my uncle sit with his grumpy neighbor at bingo. He texted sheesh. I didn't know he knew that word. Neither did he, Lucas said. The court hearing on the injunction arrived like a storm that walked. The courtroom wore oaken seriousness, the judge mid-60s weary eyes. A Brooklyn accent that had survived 3 promotions peered over half-moon glasses at the attorneys. The parents who'd filed the petition lined one side, Meredith among them, mouth arranged into magnanimity. On the other sat the school's counsel, Lucas and Claire behind him, Miss Delaney in a dress that whispered church, and Evelyn, whose poise was armor and penance. The lead attorney for the petitioner stood, Your Honor. Our clients merely ask that the board consider a parallel track for students who meet traditional benchmarks like last names. The judge said without looking up. And legacy commitments. Money, the judge said. The room chuckled until the judge raised a hand. The petitioner's attorney pushed on. We are not suggesting exclusion. We suggest focus. The school's counsel rose. Your Honor, words are doing heavy lifting here. What? Separate admissions and classroom tracks at a private institution that has received public partnerships? The city tax abatements, the judge said, would function as discrimination if couched in tradition. The judge nodded, looking now at Meredith. Ms. Loring, come forward. Meredith smoothed her skirt and walked like a lesson. She took the stand. The clerk swore her in. The judge leaned on the bench and asked, evenly, what is a legacy? Meredith smiled. A continuity of excellence. And what is a child? The judge asked. Meredith blinked. A student, the judge sighed. You know, sometimes judges ask questions that aren't rhetorical. Ms. Loring, a legacy benefits the living. I won't help you turn it into a moat. He turned to the attorneys. The injunction to force the board's consideration is denied. Petitioners are free to advocate through existing bylaws. But this court won't be your bouncer. Claire exhaled so sharply she had to brace her hand on Lucas's knee. He covered her hand with his. Outside on the courthouse steps, microphones waited like tulips. Charlotte was there too, her phone set to record, eyebrows up. Lucas stepped to the microphones. Today's not the end of anything, he said. It's a pause long enough to remember why we started. Hawthorne Heights can be a place where legacy means lifting, not excluding. We're going to hold them to it. We're going to build something else too. Are you confirming the breakaway school? A reporter called. I'm confirming a beginning, Lucas said. North Star Lab School. He glanced at Maya, who grinned, loving the sound of it. A place where excellence is a verb anyone can conjugate. Applications open when the paint's dry, Lucas said, and the laughter felt like a crowd unclenching. That night, a whiteboard appeared in the penthouse living room and refused to leave. Claire drew columns. Mission, people, Space, money, food. Maya added, recess. Pizza Fridays? Cats? With a question mark. No cats, Lucas said. Cat therapy, Maya countered. 1 day a month. We'll discuss, Claire said diplomatically, which is mother for we'll see. Evelyn stood a few feet back, watching the plan build itself like a slow symphony. I know a building, she said softly, startling herself. The old community center on 112th. The foundation funded a renovation a decade ago. The nonprofit that ran it folded last year, sitting. It would want to be a school. Lucas turned. Sure you want to help us burn bridges to the past you built? I'm learning the past is an oven, Evelyn said. It bakes bread, or it burns people. Depends on who's cooking. She met Claire's eyes. I'd rather bake. Claire smiled, surprised tears pricking. Let's preheat. Yeah, Maya wrote on the board. Oven equals past. Bread equals kids. Fire equals us. Then she added a doodle of a loaf wearing sunglasses. Chef's kiss, Lucas said. By morning, North Star had a landing page, a clean, simple site with a mission that read like a promise and a waitlist form that crashed for 30 minutes because Hope has traffic. The design featured a tiny paper crane perched on a tree limb. We have a brand, Claire said, half amused, half terrified. We have a problem, Lucas said, walking in with his phone. Peter's back. The new headline landed like a punch. Exclusive. Mercer S. North Star will siphon black and brown students from public schools. Worsening inequity, say experts. The experts were 2 quotes from a consultancy Peter was quietly funding, and an anonymous former nonprofit executive who lost a grant to the Mercer Foundation 3 years ago. Claire's hands shook. He's going to split us down the middle again. He's going to try, Lucas said. Charlotte called. It can be 2 hours, she said. Then log on to every device you own. 2 hours later, Charlotte's story dropped like a piano in a silent house. We traced the forged documents to a device registered to Langson Holdings, LLC, Peter's Shell Corp., she wrote. We traced the experts to a consultancy bought 6 months ago by the same entity. We traced the anonymous nonprofit executive to a grant declined for cause. Receipts attached. The piece ended with a paragraph that made Lucas laugh out loud. If you're going to run a smear campaign, at least learn how daylight savings works. The internet, which can turn on anyone without warning, turned on Peter with glee. Memes sprouted. Screenshots of time zones with the caption, "This you." A TikTok dance where kids switch time zones to the beat and then sit with someone new. Hashtag timesup trended for an afternoon before being subsumed by hashtag sitwithme single quotes as larger tide. Peter tweeted a thread about privacy and witch hunts and then deleted his account, which did more for the movement than any op-ed could have. Evelyn wrote an op-ed of her own. The Times took it. The headline was clean and correct. I helped build the walls. I'm helping tear them down. In it, she did not ask for forgiveness. She asked for better policy. She named the legacy's harms. She named the children. She ended with 2 sentences that made the page feel holy. I mistook fear for duty. That is not who I am anymore. Claire read it twice and then texted her. I'm proud of you. Period, Evelyn wrote back. Is there a class where I can learn to use that word correctly? Claire replied. You just did? At a town hall the next evening, Evelyn stood beside Claire and Lucas and Miss Delaney on a stage in the school auditorium. The mural in the hallway hummed like a witness. Parents lined up at a mic. Some thanked them, some fretted about college prospects. One father demanded to know whether North Star would steal top talent. Children aren't draft picks, Claire said. They're not property. They go where they grow. A hand went up near the back. A woman in a gray blazer and a city badge introduced herself as a deputy chancellor. We'd like to partner, she said. If North Star is real, we'd like seats for scholarship students and teacher training residencies. Murmurs, some hopeful, some suspicious. Lucas nodded slowly. We were going to ask. Thank you for arriving first. Miss Delaney whispered to Maya. Sometimes the cavalry is punctual. Plot twist, Maya whispered back. Construction began with brooms and volunteers. The old community center on 112 smelled like dust in the last decade. The gym had a scuffed floor that wanted sneakers. The classrooms wanted kids. The roof wanted a garden. It got one. On Saturdays, families came with paint rollers. Teenagers came with playlists. Evelyn came with deli trays and insisted everyone eat before they fainted. Claire came with a clipboard and a managerial tone no one wanted to disobey. Lucas came with a tool belt he barely needed and a willingness to get paint on his shoes. Maya came with a coterie of friends who called themselves the Cranes, because subtlety is for adults. They painted a corner of the library sky blue and hung origami birds from wire. Emily learned to fold cranes faster than anyone else and started timing herself on a phone, announcing her PRs with the solemnity of an Olympian. A boy named Javier designed a sticker that said North Star, pointing up, and put it on everything that sat still for longer than 2 minutes. "Don't tag the dog," Claire warned. "Copy," Javier said, sliding the sticker into his pocket. "Why is there a dog?" Lucas asked. "It's borrowed from the neighbor during construction hours," Maya said. "Therapy trial." Lucas pointed to the board. "Not cats." The Cranes collectively shrugged. "Dog does not equal cat." Lawyered. On a windy Thursday, a dumpster full of old carpeting confronted a gust of fate. The rolled carpet, stacked more precariously than OSHA prefers, slipped. Lucas and Javier lunged. Claire yelled Maya's name before she knew whether she needed to. A figure moved, Devlin grabbing Maya by the back of her hoodie and yanking her away as the carpet thumped past them, hit the pavement with a body sound that made everyone go quiet. For a heartbeat, everything banned breath. Then Maya turned, tucked under Evelyn's arm, eyes wide. Evelyn's face broke into something raw and human. "Mine?" she whispered to nobody and everybody. Maya looked up at her and nodded, very small. "Okay, Grandma." Claire exhaled into a laugh that turned into a cry that turned into a hug. Lucas leaned against the building and let his heart catch up. Javier said, "That was cinematic." And Emily said, "Sir." Hey, everyone laughed, because laughter was how the world restarted. Opening day arrived like a holiday invented for this neighborhood. North Star's doors were glass and hope. The new sign was simple. White letters, clean font. A small crane perched in a lowercase a. The city had sent officials and a photographer. The foundation had sent muffins that were better than they needed to be. The school district had sent 2 busloads of kids in uniforms from schools that weren't to their first choice, but had taught them resilience anyway. A reporter leaned toward Maya. "What are you most excited to learn?" Maya thought. "How to be nice when I'm mad," she said. "And algebra." "Same," the reporter said, to their own surprise. They cut the ribbon, not with giant scissors. With 20 small ones, held by kids. Inside, classrooms wore sunlight. Whiteboards gleamed like second chances do. The library smelled like paper and possibility. The art room's sink had been replaced and was not yet clogged with clay. The roof garden had seedlings labeled with popsicle sticks. The cafeteria had tables arranged in circles because circles make better listeners. First period, Maya sat in a seminar called Story and Civic Life, led by Miss Delaney, who had taken a half-year leave to help launch the school. On the board, she wrote 2 words. "Roots, wings, pick one," she said. "Write why." She glanced at Maya and then looked away, pretending not to know her answer. Maya wrote, "Both." She raised her hand. "What if it's both?" Miss Delaney smiled. "Then you're paying attention." At Hawthorne Heights, there was fallout. The petition didn't vanish, mutated. A group of parents formed a tradition council and hosted a gala of their own at a downtown hotel, where they wore their finest nostalgia and toasted to heritage. Attendance was solid. Press coverage was clinical. Photo slideshow accidentally included an image from the 1980s of a door with a sign. It said "Closed admissions." Twitter noticed. The comments were not kind. Meredith did not return calls. A rumor said she was taking a sabbatical to reflect. Another rumor said the board had asked her to consider other hobbies. The truth, like most, was boring and a little sad. Peter tried to pitch a podcast. Pilot episode Truth, Lies, and Daylight Savings. Averaged 12 listeners. He deleted it after someone stitched it with a video of a cat setting an alarm clock to the wrong time and knocking it off a table. The internet can be cruel. Sometimes it's also fair. North Star settled into a rhythm that felt like a dance. Mornings began with a circle in the Commons, a poem, a student announcement, a faculty confession. I, Mr. Chen, burned the risotto last night. I seek forgiveness." "Denied," a ninth grader said kindly. Lunch was loud and intentional. The Sit With Me challenge continued in small ways. A new table made each week, a list of names on the wall that grew until it looked like a city. On Fridays, Lucas taught a seminar called Building Stuff That Matters. He expected to mentor. He got mentored. A girl named Tasha, whose mother worked nights and who wanted to design better subway benches, argued with him about the ethics of venture capital until he said, "Hands up, I yield." The class made a sticker that said, "I made a billionaire say uncle." They put it on his laptop. Claire helped start a parent room stocked with coffee and soft chairs, and watched strangers become allies. She wrangled buses, fielded press, sat in a child-sized chair to talk through a playground. Disagreement like it was the UN. She finished each day exhausted and lit from within. Night. She and Lucas fought kindly about nothing until they remembered they were on the same side and fell asleep holding hands on top of the covers like teenagers. Evelyn came on Wednesdays to read in the library. The first time, 2 second graders sat across from her and stared like she was a moving statue. The third time, they leaned into her shoulder as she read The Snowy Day. She didn't cry, mostly. Charlotte came to audit a media literacy unit and ended up teaching it, which is how a dozen 8th graders learned to dismantle propaganda and identify fonts by sight. "Kerning matters," Maya said at dinner, and Lucas said, "The revolution will be typeset." Emily thrived. She was a kindness engine who made life louder and better by just sitting down. She still had days when the cafeteria hummed too loud and her brain went sideways. On those days, the art room had a chair with a sign, "Break." Night or questions, the sign had a small crane in the corner. The chair often had Maya in it too, not because she needed the break, but because friendship sometimes sounds like not talking. The second storm didn't arrive with headlines. It arrived with a clipboard. A city inspector visited North Star with a list that was not unreasonable, but was wielded like a weapon by someone who enjoyed small power. The sprinkler certification needed one more signature. The ADA ramp was compliant, but the landing wanted 3 more inches. The roof garden's soil depth had to be documented to a decimal place. "We'll fix it," Claire said. "We did fix it," Lucas said. "It's the law," the inspector said, and Claire gave Lucas a look that said, "People have used that sentence on me my whole life." They filed the forms, moved the things, called the contractor. The sprinkler signature went missing between the 5th and 6th floor of a municipal building and reappeared when Charlotte tweeted about it. The ramp landed its extra inches with a thud and a cheer. The roof garden got a STEM lesson out of the soil depth debacle. The inspector returned and discovered, to his visible disappointment, that he had nothing to write. "See you next year," Claire said pleasantly. The inspector nodded, and then, very quietly, said, "My niece started the Sit With Me thing at her school." Tapped the clipboard. "It's good. Tell her it's hers," Claire said. He smiled into his collar and left. The day North Star hosted its first community night, the building felt like a lung, expanding with neighbors. A jazz trio set up in the commons. A poet read under a string of lights in the library. Teens presented projects that ranged from a composting proposal for public parks to a prototype app that connects seniors to teens for tech help and story swaps. The cafeteria served food from 20 kitchens. The gym hosted a half-court game in which an 11-year-old crossed up Lucas so badly he needed to sit down and consider his choices. At the end, Maya took the small stage under the mural the cranes had recreated on an interior wall.
Oh.
The pendant tree, carefully mounted, glinted under the lights. She held her note cards, then tucked them into her pocket. "Hi," she said, "thank you for coming to our house." She looked at the mural, then at the room. "We made this because someone told us we couldn't sit together, and then we did. Then we built a school because someone tried to make 2 schools. We made one for everyone. We're going to keep making it, with you." She took a breath. "Our roots hold us steady. Our wings carry us higher." The room stood, not wild, not polite. Something in between that felt like a neighborhood knowing its name. Afterward, a man approached Lucas with a hand outstretched. He was older, with a preacher's voice and a mechanic's hands. "I knew your father," he said. Lucas braced. "Did you?" He taught a summer class at the old rec center, the man said. He was loud and wrong a lot, but he paid for pizza and asked my boy what he wanted to build, and then said do it. He looked around. He'd hate this. Lucas laughed, despite himself. He would. And then, the man said, he'd write a check and show up on Saturdays with a hammer. Lucas swallowed.
Ow!
Do you have a boy here now? The man nodded to a kid across the room, tall, shy eyes taking everything in. He doesn't like crowds. But he likes your roof, Lucas said. It's his. The man squeezed his hand and walked away. And Lucas stood in the middle of a school he had to known he needed and let the past and present shake hands without supervision. At Hawthorne Heights, the board quietly voted to dissolve the Tradition Council. They launched a scholarship fund in the name of a former head custodian, who spent 3 decades fixing things and remembering names. Diane Lockhart sent a note to Miss Delaney that said, simply, "You were right." Miss Delaney replied, "You were brave." Emily's mom, who had once whispered misgivings at her kitchen table, volunteered to run a buddy program for new families. She and Claire, who'd started out wary as cats, developed a text thread where they sent each other screenshots of absurd emails and responded only with the crane emoji. It kept them sane. Evelyn returned to Hawthorne Heights once, walking the hallways with the new head of admissions, young, curious, a little terrified, and offered 3 pieces of advice. Look children in the eye. Make rules you can defend to a 7-year-old. And if the murals aren't getting bigger every year, you're doing something wrong. The new head nodded like someone receiving commandments. On a Saturday morning when the city decided to be kind with sun, Lucas and Claire walked with Maya and Evelyn through Central Park. The trees had just remembered their leaves. A saxophone argued with birds. The reservoir threw light around like it was trying to show off. "Do you miss boring?" Claire asked Lucas as they strolled, fingers interlaced. "I don't remember it," he said. Maya skipped ahead, then fell back between them. "Can North Star have a newspaper?" "Yes," Claire said immediately. "Call it the Crane. Too obvious," Maya said. "The Root." "Better," Evelyn said. "But give it a tagline," Maya thought, then grinned. "The root news that grows on you?" Lucas groaned. "Absolutely not, and also yes." They sat on a bench under a tree that had seen more history than some libraries. Maya pulled out a small notebook and began to sketch. A tree. A bench. 4 figures. A skyline. Little paper birds dotting the margins. "What are you drawing?" Evelyn asked. "Our family," Maya said. "Who's that?" Claire asked, pointing at a 5th small figure at the edge of the page. Maya shrugged without looking up. "The next kid," she said. "There's always one more." She shaded the small figure in, making them bold. Evelyn watched the pencil move and felt the peculiar ache that comes when the world changes in a way that makes you better. "Thank you for letting me begin again," she said. "Thank you for beginning," Claire replied. Lucas looked at the tree, the bench, the 5 figures, and the boundless white beyond. He remembered a gate, a voice. "I'm poor, so they won't let me in." Reached for Claire's hand and found Maya's on top of it. Evelyn's joined, cool and sure. 4 hands, 1 root. "Ready?" he asked. Maya didn't look up from her drawing. "We stay ready," she said. "We outside." Claire groaned, laughing. "You're never saying that in front of my mother." "Too late," Evelyn said dryly. "I've already Googled it." They sat until the sun shifted, until the saxophone wandered away, until the page filled. Then they got up steady, certain. Together. Walked toward a school where the doors were glass, and the rules started with yes. The first graduation of North Star wasn't a grand spectacle. There were no velvet ropes or celebrity speakers. The banners were handmade, stitched with uneven letters that somehow looked stronger for their imperfections. The stage was a borrowed platform from the community theater. Diplomas were printed on thick paper, donated by a local shopkeeper who said, "Kids deserve the good card stock." But to everyone in that hall, it felt like Madison Square Garden. Maya sat in the front row, her feet swinging just as they had the day she first stood at the gates of Hawthorne Heights. Now she wasn't alone. Emily was beside her. Javier, too. 100 students in navy gowns lined the rows, each wearing a paper crane pinned to their collars. The hall buzzed with laughter, music, and that peculiar electricity that only comes when a room knows history is being made. Claire watched from the side, tears threatening but not unwelcome. Lucas stood near the back, arms folded, eyes wet but steady. Evelyn sat proudly in the middle row, clapping before the ceremony even began. When it was time, Miss Delaney stepped to the microphone. We built this school because some people thought legacy meant walls. But the truth is, legacy means wings. These students are proof. She paused, scanning the crowd. And one of them has something to say. Maya rose, her gown rustling softly. She climbed the steps and stood under the lights, holding nothing. Note cards, no stickers, just herself. She looked out over the audience and smiled. When I was little, someone told me I didn't belong. They were wrong. I belong. We all do. And we proved it not by being perfect, but by standing up when it was hard. By sitting with each other when it was awkward, and by never letting fear decide who gets to learn. She glanced back at her classmates. Our roots hold us steady. Our wings carry us higher. That's what North Star taught me. Silence, then a wave of applause, the kind that feels like an embrace. Lucas leaned close to Claire and whispered, "That's my girl." "No," Claire said, smiling through tears. "That's our girl." Maya lifted her arms slightly, as if testing those invisible wings. Then she grinned. "Oh, and one last thing, Pizza Fridays forever." The hall erupted in laughter and cheers. The graduates tossed their caps in the air. Paper cranes rained down with them, folded by the younger kids and released from the balcony. For a moment, it looked like the whole room was flying. Evelyn clapped until her hands hurt. Claire hugged Lucas, and Lucas scooped Maya into his arms. She laughed, caught between the past and the future, safe in both. Outside, the evening sun lit the mural on the school's wall. The tree stretched wide, its branches painted with hundreds of names. At its base, in bold strokes, someone had written, "Still standing, still growing, still together." And above it, dozens of paper cranes caught the breeze, carrying the story higher.